She was the child they silenced to steal her future, until one woman uncovered the truth. In a world where power hides behind family ties and wealth buys silence, Jessica chose to fight. This isn't just a story about saving a little girl. It's a battle for justice, a test of love, and a reminder that the smallest voices often carry the deepest truths. When Amanda Montgomery called to ask if I could tutor her daughter, Lily, over the summer, I hesitated. I was looking forward to a few months of quiet after a long school year. But Amanda was persuasive, and her offer was generous. They needed someone trustworthy, she said. Someone patient. Someone who understood special needs children. I know you don't usually take private students, Amanda had said, her voice smooth and professional. But Lily isn't like other kids. She's delicate, and we've heard great things about your work with children who need extra attention. The Montgomerys were well known in our Massachusetts suburb, wealthy, powerful, and involved in all the right charities. I'd met Amanda briefly during a PTA fundraiser years ago, but we ran in very different circles. Still, I agreed. Not just for the money, but because something in her voice felt oddly desperate beneath the practiced charm. I arrived at the Montgomery estate on the first Monday of June. Their mansion loomed like a relic from another era. Brick walls, wrought iron gates, manicured hedges that framed a world of controlled perfection. Amanda greeted me at the door, dressed immaculately in linen and pearls. She's in her room, she said, leading me through echoing halls. She doesn't like new people, so go slowly. As we ascended the stairs, Amanda's tone grew more clipped. Lily is 8. She's cognitively delayed. Minimal speech. Very little physical mobility. She's on a strict medication schedule. I'll leave instructions. Just follow the routine and try to keep her calm. That first day, Lily barely looked at me. She sat in a wheelchair, limp and vacant, her hair brushing the side of her pale face. Amanda left us alone in the upstairs study, where I attempted gentle introductions. Hi Lily, I'm Jessica. I'm just here to help you with some fun learning this summer. No pressure, okay. Lily didn't respond. For the next 2 hours, I spoke softly, read books aloud, and occasionally played music. Her eyes occasionally flicked toward me, and once, when I laughed at a silly character voice, I thought I saw the corner of her mouth twitch. That was the first clue. By the end of the first week, I noticed more. Lily seemed to follow me with her eyes more deliberately. When I reached for something she dropped, her fingers moved ever so slightly toward mine. Lily, I asked, one afternoon, can you understand me? A pause, then, a nearly imperceptible nod. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something was deeply wrong. I began observing the details I'd missed before. The cameras subtly placed in corners, always trained toward Lily. The locked cabinets, the precisely timed medication routines seemed to drain her energy within minutes. The way Amanda and her husband Robert spoke to her in front of others, loud, slow and performative. One day, while Amanda was on a phone call, I peeked into Lily's records in the study drawer. The label on her medication bottle made my heart drop. A high-dose sedative, not typically prescribed for children. I started reducing the doses, minutely careful to keep everything looking untouched. Within days, Lily began to come alive. Her fingers moved more, her gaze held mine. And then, the impossible happened. She spoke. We were alone in the sunroom, the light falling through the tall windows like honey. I was reading a book aloud, a story about a girl who outwitted a wicked queen. I paused when I felt her staring at me more intently than usual. My name is Lily, she whispered. I froze. I couldn't breathe. Her voice was hoarse, shaky but deliberate. You can talk, I asked, too loudly. She flinched. I wasn't supposed to, she said, barely audible. They said I'd go away forever. If I did. My hands shook as I reached for hers. You're safe. You're with me now. What unraveled next was horrific. Lily, at just 8 years old, had been pretending to be severely disabled for 5 years, a performance forced upon her by her own family. They had drugged her, isolated her, and fabricated medical records to maintain the illusion. Why? She didn't know exactly. But she did remember that when her grandparents died, something changed. They said the money's mine, but I'm too dumb to have it. The Montgomerys had kept her in a prison of medication and lies to control her multimillion inheritance. I didn't know what to do. Every instinct in me screamed to call the police, to shout the truth to the world. But I also knew the Montgomerys had connections, resources, and a dangerously believable narrative. If I acted too fast, they could whisk her away, silence her, discredit me. I decided on a different course, a careful, strategic gathering of evidence. I bought a secure phone and began documenting everything. Photos of the medication bottles, Lily speaking on video, scans of documents showing contradictory medical reports. I reached out to the only person I could trust implicitly, Lauren Bishop, my best friend from college and now a prominent child advocacy lawyer. Jess, she said after hearing the summary, this is bigger than you know. You need to be careful. If they suspect you're onto them, they'll shut everything down. So I played the role. Sweet, compliant, oblivious Jessica. The perfect tutor. Meanwhile, I coached Lily in secrecy, helping her read, encouraging her to write down memories, and practicing her speech. I also started analyzing the trust fund documents Amanda had carelessly left in a drawer. The money, over $8 million, was supposed to be held in trust until Lily turned 25. But there were already red flags. Unusual withdrawals, overseas transactions, private shell companies. They weren't just drugging their daughter, they were stealing from her future. It wasn't until Amanda announced a surprise vacation to Hawaii that I saw my opportunity. We'll be gone for a week, she said casually, sipping her iced tea. Lily's routine is all written out. You'll stay here. Everything she needs is in the medicine cabinet. They trusted me enough now, or rather, they underestimated me. The day they left, Lily and I cried together. Not because she was afraid, but because, for the first time in years, she was free. We watched movies, played simple games, and took long walks around the garden. Do you think, she asked one night as we looked at the stars, that someone will believe me? I believe you, I said. And I know someone who can help. Lauren agreed to file preliminary documents. We began organizing evidence into a secure cloud. Each day was a mission. A risk. But Lily grew stronger, more expressive, and more confident. She smiled now. She laughed, she asked questions, and yet my heart ached when she said things like, "Do you think my mommy will ever love me for real?" The abuse had not just broken her body, it had wounded her soul. 5 days into our quiet resistance, I decided to test the waters with my husband, Michael, Amanda's brother. He was on vacation with their family, but I hoped his love for Lily might outweigh his loyalty to his kin. Michael, I said over the phone, I found some disturbing things, her meds, the trust account. Something doesn't add up. His response was instant and cold. Jess, don't interfere. Amanda knows what Lily needs. Stay out of family matters. That told me everything I needed to know. I was on my own. They weren't supposed to come back until Friday afternoon, but at 3 a.m. Thursday, I awoke to the sound of the front door creaking open. Voices, footsteps. Lily was already awake, sitting up in her bed. Her face was pale. They do this sometimes, she whispered. To see if I'm being good. I helped her back into her disabled room, reattached the wrist brace, and dimmed the lights. We played the part I last time. Amanda walked in seconds later. What are you doing in here? She asked suspiciously. I heard something, just checking on her. I lied. You're back early. Change of plans, she said, her voice flat. Downstairs. The family convened like a royal court. Robert, Eleanor, James. Michael looked away from me. Amanda accused me of messing up Lily's medication logs. Eleanor questioned my behavior. Robert's presence was quietly terrifying. And then, the most astonishing moment yet. Lily stepped into the room, standing tall, fully alert, and she spoke. Hello, Mommy. Hello, Grandma and Grandpa. I'm feeling much better now. Lily's voice rang like a hammer against glass. The room froze. Amanda's mouth hung open, her hands limp at her sides. Robert's face turned a dangerous shade of red. Eleanor blinked rapidly, like she had seen a ghost. Hello, Mommy. Hello, Grandma and Grandpa. I'm feeling much better now. A silence followed, thick, electric, full of disbelief and rapidly coiling rage. Amanda recovered first, her voice trembling. What? What is this? Jessica, what did you do? I moved between her and Lily instinctively. I stopped drugging her. That's all. I let her be a child. You've ruined everything, Amanda snarled, stepping forward. She's not an experiment. She's not a puppet. She's a little girl. She's sick. Amanda shouted. She needs her medication. She's not sick. She's been poisoned. Amanda lunged for Lily, reaching into her bag and pulling out a bottle. You're taking this right now. Young lady. Lily backed up, terrified. I stepped in, shoving Amanda away. Touch her again, and I swear, You'll what? Robert growled, stepping forward. His bulk filled the room. You're on our property. You're interfering with a child's medical care. I could have you arrested before sunrise. I hope you do, I said, lifting my phone. Child Protective Services is already on the way. His face faltered. What? Amanda gasped. You called them. I called Lauren, I replied, and she called the authorities. They're coming. Now. And then the doorbell rang. At the front door stood Lauren Bishop, looking composed and commanding in a navy blazer, flanked by 2 uniformed officers and a CPS caseworker. Mr. Montgomery, Lauren said, greeting Robert like they were in court. I believe you've been expecting us. Robert tried to slam the door, but one officer raised a hand. We need to speak with the child. Now, you have no warrant, we don't need one in suspected child abuse cases, the CPS worker cut in. Behind them, Amanda tried to protest. This is outrageous. My daughter is severely disabled. She needs her medication. She's lucid, speaking, and walking without assistance, Lauren said, which contradicts every medical report you filed in the last 5 years. The officers looked past them toward Lily, who stood behind me, clutching my hand tightly. We'd like to speak with her, one of them said. Robert snarled, you're all making a mistake. The CPS worker knelt beside Lily and gently asked, Sweetheart, can you tell me how you've been feeling? Lily took a shaky breath. They make me take medicine that makes me sleepy all the time. I'm not sick, but they told me if I moved or talked when anyone visited, I'd be sent away forever. Amanda screeched. She's delusional. Lauren stepped forward. We have documentation. Videos. Medical contradictions. Financial discrepancies, including emails, Amanda wrote. Planning to have Lily declared legally incompetent by the time she turns 18. Amanda's face drained of color. Robert turned to Michael, his voice cold. Do something. She's your wife. Control her. Michael looked like he'd been slapped. My wife, he whispered, is the only one here protecting my niece. And just like that, the tide turned. Amanda's composure shattered. It wasn't my idea, she screamed. It was Daddy's. He said Lily's inheritance would fix everything, the company, the debts. He made me do it. You lying little. Robert lunged toward her, but the officer stepped between them. You're confessing to fraud and child abuse? The caseworker asked. Amanda blinked. I didn't know how to stop. It went too far. I didn't mean to hurt her. She was 3, I said bitterly. 3 years old when you started this. Eleanor wrung her hands in the corner. We only wanted what was best for her. That money would have gone to waste. She didn't understand any of it. She's 8, not a pet rock. Lauren snapped. James tried a different tactic. Can't we settle this quietly? No need to ruin lives. I'm sure there's an arrangement we can make. The officer cut him off. Are you suggesting a bribe, sir? No. Because that's a criminal offense as well. Robert, ever the strategist, adjusted his tie. We should speak to our lawyers. The officer nodded. You can do that, Tat. The station. Amanda and Robert were escorted out in handcuffs. Lily was taken to a hospital that night for a full medical and psychological evaluation. I rode in the ambulance with her, her tiny hand locked around mine. I'm scared, she whispered. I know, I said. But you're safe now. No more pretending. No more silence. Michael arrived an hour later, dazed and ashamed. I didn't know. He said again and again. You didn't want to know, I replied gently. But now I do, he said. And I want to fix it. Lily's tests showed what we had long suspected. She was perfectly healthy. There were minor delays due to 2 years of forced sedation, but no signs of congenital disability or neurological disorder. That night, as Lily slept under the soft hum of monitors, Michael and I sat in the hallway, the weight of everything pressing down. What happens now? He asked. We fight for custody, I said. We keep her safe, and we make sure they never hurt her again. Over the next 3 weeks, the Montgomery empire crumbled. Robert and Amanda were charged with child abuse, fraud, and financial exploitation of a minor. Robert's attempt to bribe a detective had added witness tampering to the list. Amanda confessed under pressure, cutting a plea deal in exchange for testifying against her father. Eleanor wasn't charged criminally, but civil suits were filed for mismanaging Lily's trust. Her reputation in high society was ruined. Charities she once chaired cut all ties. James, who had kept himself removed enough, was placed on indefinite leave from his law firm. An internal ethics board opened an investigation. As for Michael and me, We entered marriage counseling. The betrayal I felt ran deep, but his unwavering support for Lily since the confrontation had given me something to hold on to. He left his job, cut off financially from the Montgomery name, and began building his own life from the ground up. We moved out of the Montgomery guest house and bought a modest 3-bedroom near a public park. But none of that compared to the transformation we saw in Lily by the time the court hearing came to appoint a temporary guardianship. Lily was thriving, off medication, in therapy, laughing, asking questions, drawing at the hearing. The judge looked at Lily and smiled. "Miss Montgomery, how do you feel about living with Jessica and Michael Morgan?" "I feel safe," she replied softly, "and happy." That was enough. We were named temporary guardians, with full legal protection of her person and estate pending further hearings. A neutral financial trustee was appointed to manage her inheritance with court oversight. Lauren sat beside me, squeezing my arm. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said, watching Lily high-five a bailiff. "We did it." That night, we celebrated with pizza and board games. Lily went to bed laughing, and I stayed awake, watching her sleep, thinking about how close she came to never escaping. How many other children might be trapped in silence? 3 months had passed since the night the Montgomery dynasty crumbled, and I found myself sitting in a quiet courtroom, my fingers intertwined with Lily's as the judge reviewed the documents before him. She sat between Michael and me, her eyes wide, wearing the new sunflower dress she'd picked out herself. Her hair had grown longer, and she wore it in the braid I'd done that morning. Having reviewed all submitted evidence, including psychological assessments, medical records, sworn testimony, and documentation of abuse, the judge began. "The court determines that the child, Lily Montgomery, is to remain under the temporary guardianship of Jessica and Michael Morgan." A tiny hand squeezed mine. The judge smiled at Lily. "Do you feel safe and comfortable with your aunt and uncle, Miss Montgomery?" Lily nodded shyly. "I do, Your Honor." "Then I hereby extend the temporary guardianship and grant full decision-making authority to her guardians, pending further custody proceedings." Gavel down. We had crossed another milestone. Outside the courtroom, Lauren met us with a tight hug. "You did it," she whispered. "No," I said softly, watching Lily twirl on the marble floor. "We did it." The Montgomery name, once synonymous with old money and corporate power, now appeared daily in scandal-filled headlines. Robert Montgomery was indicted on multiple federal charges, including financial fraud, child endangerment, witness tampering, and bribery. His lawyers fought tooth and nail, but Amanda's confession had shattered any chance of a clean defense. Amanda pleaded guilty to child abuse and conspiracy to defraud a minor, receiving a reduced sentence in exchange for her cooperation. She cried at sentencing, professing remorse, but her tears felt rehearsed. "I didn't know what else to do," she told the court. "I was trying to save our family." "No," I thought, as I held Lily's hand during that hearing. "You tried to save your money." Eleanor, shielded by layers of deniability, escaped criminal prosecution but faced civil lawsuits and social obliteration. Prestigious boards and charities stripped her name from plaques and websites. Her friends stopped calling. Her invitations stopped coming. She sued for visitation with Lily, and the court denied her. James kept his distance, claiming ignorance. His law firm placed him on indefinite leave, pending Bar Association inquiries. He tried once to reach out to Michael, but got no response. The Montgomery empire didn't crumble in a blaze. It rotted, slowly, publicly, under the weight of its secrets. Meanwhile, our lives transformed, not in fire and fury, but in the quiet reshaping of routines. Michael had left the Montgomery family business and started consulting independently. It was a rocky beginning. Going from cushioned wealth to a humble home office wasn't easy, but for the first time, he was earning something honestly. I returned to teaching, part-time at first. My colleagues welcomed me back with warmth and cautious curiosity. Rumors had flown. Most didn't know the whole story, and Lily blossomed. She began therapy 3 times a week, working with a trauma specialist who taught her to name her fears, to process nightmares, and to understand that the pain wasn't her fault. It was slow work. Some nights, she still woke up screaming. Other days, she'd withdraw completely, curling into the corner of her room, as if afraid to exist. But then there were the good days. Like her first real playdate, her first birthday party, her first sleepover, where she stayed up too late watching cartoons and came home the next morning full of stories and smiles. Every small win felt like a miracle. One evening, As the sky turned pink over our new backyard, Lily sat between Michael and me, roasting marshmallows over a small fire pit. "I have a question," she said, her voice quiet. "Sure, sweetheart, can I call you guys mom and dad now?" My heart caught. "You can call us anything that makes you feel safe," I told her gently. "Whatever you want." She looked at Michael, then back at me. "Okay, then I want to." Michael blinked fast, looking away toward the trees. "I love you," she added a moment later, simply, as if she'd been saving those words for just the right moment. I wrapped my arms around her. "We love you, too." It was the first time she'd said it, the first time we'd heard it without fear or manipulation, just the truth, real, inspired by everything that had happened. Lauren and I co-founded a nonprofit organization, the Quiet Truth Foundation, dedicated to identifying and supporting children who were victims of medical child abuse, legal manipulation, and financial exploitation. We started small, just the two of us and a part-time administrator, but within months, emails poured in. Parents, teachers, nurses, all with stories like Lily's. Whispers of kids over-medicated, guardians abusing trust funds, and children made to play roles for public sympathy or private gain. It was horrifying and validating. We'd only uncovered one case. There were hundreds more in the shadows. Our foundation began offering pro bono legal consultations, support groups, and therapy referrals. We collaborated with investigative journalists and social workers. It was exhausting, but it felt like a purpose. 6 months after the courtroom hearing, Lily started school. Real school, for the first time. We enrolled her in a private academy that specialized in trauma-informed education. The first week was rocky. She clung to me every morning, tears in her eyes. "What if they laugh at me?" she whispered one day. "Then they don't deserve you." I whispered back, but they didn't laugh. They welcomed her. She made her first true friend Emma in art class. They became inseparable, crafting stories and painting canvases to large. For the fridge. At home, she insisted on helping with chores. She named her stuffed animals after historical queens. She got obsessed with baking and convinced Michael to help her make a new dessert every Sunday, and one day, while sorting laundry, she looked at me and asked, "Why did you help me?" The question floored me.